What is up, guys? Wrestling Premiere is here. Now, this may not be a top 5 WrestleMania to many, but for me, it's one of my favorites behind WrestleMania 22. I feel this one is a bit underappreciated. Not much, just a bit. Why? Well, look at the card. John Cena and HBK for the WWE title, Batista and The Undertaker for the world title, the Battle of the Billionaires. It was a star-studded card. WWE in 2007 was a mess. It's as simple as that. The beginning of the year was somewhat entertaining, but then the draft happened and the Benoit incident occurred and everything changed. I do think the end of the year was pretty good because Batista and The Undertaker reignited their feud, Edge returned, the top guys bar Cena and Lashley returned, and most importantly, Y2J was back. So for me, the end of 2007 was fun. Now in this video, I'll be covering WrestleMania 23. WrestleMania 23 was held in Ford Field, home of the wretched Detroit Lions, on April 1st, 2007. Ford Field had an attendance of 80,103, and the pay-per-view had a buy rate of 1,200,000, which was the highest buy rate of WWE history up until WrestleMania 28, which had 1,217,000. The theme songs for the event were Leave the Memories Alone by Default and Ladies and Gentlemen by Saliva. As you all may remember, WWE during this time had these promos planned on TV. It was these all grown up commercials. You'd see Stone Cold as a kid drinking milk, and now he's all grown up drinking beer. And they're like, I'm all grown up. I'm all grown up. You guys know it. Also, that intro to the event was awesome. It gave me the SVR 2008 vibes, and I feel like playing that game. Right now, let's get into it. The first match was the Money in the Bank ladder match. Edge, Randy Orton, Finlay, CM Punk, Mr. Kennedy, King Booker, Matt Hardy, and Jeff Hardy were the participants. Now, the beginning started off like a usual multi-man match. Everyone fighting one another, and then someone jumps off the top rope onto everyone. And from there, Edge suddenly came out of nowhere with a ladder. He climbed it, but Hardy prevented him from doing so. Following this, other guys tried climbing the ladder, but to no avail. At one point, King Booker found a step ladder, and he uttered his famous catchphrase, "Tell me I did not just see that," before CM Punk took the ladder away from him, and he used it as a weapon. Edge suddenly grabbed that step ladder, and he threw it onto CM Punk, which busted him open. The Rated R superstar tried to suplex Punk, but the tables turned, and it was Edge who suffered. Meanwhile, in the ring, King Booker was on a roll. He decided to do a WrestleMania spinner-rooney. As Booker turned around, he was sandwiched by the Hardys with 2 ladders. The Hardys worked as a cohesive unit for a bit before Edge suplexed back onto a ladder. From there, Kennedy finally reappeared, and he decided to go for a Kenton. He failed to hit it, and he landed on the steel ladder. Jeff Hardy then hit the Swanton successfully. The Hardys' alliance would end for a bit when both men tried retrieving the briefcase. Instead, Finlay pushed them off the ladder, and as Finlay was holding a ladder, Edge hit a spear. He then went on a spear spree, hitting everyone in sight except for CM Punk, who leaped over him. The ECW star put a ladder on his neck like a helicopter, using it as a weapon. After using the ladder as a weapon for a bit, Edge speared 3 men. Like, look at that spear. That was pretty cool. The Rated R superstar then grabbed a tall ladder, and right when he climbed it, Randy Orton, his teammate, pushed them off. After knocking down the Legend Killer, Jeff Hardy climbed the ladder. He was contemplating whether or not to retrieve the briefcase, and instead, in usual Hardy fashion, Jeff, in the moment, hit a leg drop on Edge. He absolutely obliterated him. I believe this was Edge's most painful bump in his career. I remember he said this a while ago. I'm not sure when, but I just remember reading that he said this was the most painful bump he took. Also, in storyline, I don't think there was anyone who hated Edge more than the Hardys. Yeah, sure, you could say Cena and The Undertaker and those guys hated him, but these guys, like, they've hated him for years. Inside the ring, Randy Orton went on an RKO spree. He even hit an RKO on CM Punk off of a ladder. Orton tried to do the same thing to King Booker, but instead he got a bookend off the ladder. As Booker tried climbing the ladder, Matt Hardy held Sharmell hostage. He threatened to twist of fate her if Booker retrieved the briefcase. JBL was shouting for Booker to grab the briefcase and ditch her. Booker tried to save her, and he got a twist of fate instead. Hardy then climbed the ladder, but Finlay lifted the ladder to send Matt Hardy to the mat below. Finlay then hit the Celtic Cross on Hardy onto a ladder, and since Finlay couldn't climb the ladder, Hornswoggle came out of nowhere, and he climbed the rungs. He tried to retrieve the briefcase. As Swoggle made it to the top, he was confronted by Mr. Kennedy. He delivered a few blows, but that would amount to nothing as Kennedy just grabbed him and he hit the Green Bay plunge off the top of a ladder. Finlay then threw a ladder onto Kennedy, and he tried climbing once again. CM Punk then drop-kicked the ladder to send himself and Finlay to the mat. He then attempted to grab the briefcase, but Kennedy stopped him. The two exchanged blows, and it ended with Kennedy falling off. This wouldn't hurt Kennedy, as he would throw a ladder right into CM Punk and climb the ladder himself. He then retrieved the briefcase to become Mr. Money in the Bank. Such an entertaining match from beginning to end. Any one of these guys were a viable choice to have a singles match on this pay-per-view, let alone win the briefcase. They all got their moment to shine, and in the end, it was Mr. Kennedy who emerged victorious. After this matchup, they showed the premiere of The Condemned about a few days earlier. I think this has got to be the first movie I cover on this channel. I'm not sure how I'm going to structure it, and that's the reason why I have not made it yet. But once I figure out how to structure it, I will make that video. The reason why I want to make a video on this is because it featured Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I shockingly never watched it. I also heard that it sucks, but I think it'd make for a good video regardless. Mr. Kennedy was interviewed by Todd Grisham. Kennedy congratulated himself for the victory, and he gave the world champions his notice. He thanked God that he's not a nice guy because he's Mr. Kennedy, and he thanked God that he's Mr. Money in the Bank. Damn, I just realized Kennedy was so damn pompous and annoying, but that's what makes him a good heel, so it obviously worked out. The next match was between Kane and the Great Khali. Now, you guys already know this one wasn't good. Why? Well, Khali wasn't exactly known for his in-ring skills. Khali tried to wear down Kane in the beginning, and it kinda worked. The Big Red Machine made a small comeback, and he even grabbed a hook. Behind the ref's back, Kane used the chain as a weapon, and then he hit the body slam, shades of WrestleMania 3. Khali, however, recovered, and he hit the double choke slam for the victory. Right after the match, Khali wrapped Kane's chain on his neck, and he continued choking him for a bit. After the match, they showed Crime Time with a sad Eugene. This was right after Vince shaved his head about a week ago. They tried to cheer him up with the extreme expose, and then all of a sudden, these two showed up once again. Slick appeared, and he danced along with everyone before Dusty Rhodes appeared, and he danced too. Following this, a few other legends appeared, and it was a party. Ricky Steamboat made one of his first appearances in WWE before everyone froze again, realizing that Ron Simmons was there. He shouted his legendary catchphrase before walking away, and everyone danced once again. The next match was for the United States Championship. Chris Benoit defended the gold against MVP Montel Vontavious Porter. For me, Chris Benoit was the greatest WWE United States Champion. Every time he held the title, it felt like it was a world championship. The way he carried himself as a champion, the way the commentary team praised him, it felt like a world championship. This was around the time period JBL always mentioned that Benoit was a guaranteed Hall of Famer. Oh my god. In the beginning, the two locked up and they traded holds. MVP at one point blocked a German suplex, and it seemed like he scouted the US champion. He even escaped Benoit's crossface attempt, and from there the two continued trading holds once again. And the match style changed when MVP kicked Benoit in the abdomen. From there, MVP was mostly in control. He targeted Benoit's left shoulder, and Benoit wouldn't start making a comeback until after avoiding MVP's roundhouse kick. He delivered a hat trick of German suplexes before climbing to the top rope. MVP, however, took back control, and he hit a superplex, but Benoit, however, nearly caught MVP with an inside cradle. MVP continued to make Benoit's left shoulder a liability. He rammed him into the post, and at this point, he was beating Benoit in his own game. The rabid Wolverine would, however, nearly lock the cripple across face. He wouldn't lock it in due to his damaged shoulder. MVP took control once again, and at this point, he was ballin'. He hit that elbow, and after running into the turnbuckle, MVP was on the receiving end of Benoit's German suplexes. At one point, it looked like he countered the suplexes, but Benoit hit another hat trick of Germans to wear down MVP. Chris Benoit then went up to the top rope where he successfully hit a flying headbutt, which shockingly to me, got him the victory. All in all, a good matchup, and this was basically MVP's coming out party. He was treated like a bigger deal after this match. As for Benoit, well, this was his final WrestleMania and his final feud in general before moving on to ECW. Backstage, we find Donald Trump. He's complaining about something before the Boogeyman emerged from out of nowhere. Trump no-sold this, and he told Boogeyman to go get him some food. Boogeyman continues shouting that he's coming to get you before adding sandwiches, and then all of a sudden, Little Boogeyman came out. They then showcased the Hall of Fame Class of 2007 inductees. The next match was for the World Heavyweight Championship. Batista defended the gold against The Undertaker. Now, these two had a chip on their shoulders. I'll explain why soon. This began when The Undertaker won the Royal Rumble. What this means is that The Undertaker had the opportunity to choose who he'll face at WrestleMania. He teased facing John Cena for the WWE Championship and Bobby Lashley for the ECW Championship, which was funny to me. In the end, he chose the World Heavyweight Championship Batista. After signaling his intentions for WrestleMania, the Deadman chokeslammed Batista. Following this, the Animal promised to return the favor in the future, and that's what he did at No Way Out. He cost himself and The Undertaker a tag team match against HBK and John Cena. In the weeks leading to WrestleMania, Batista said that he's not and he will not be intimidated by The Undertaker. Batista wasn't scared, and The Undertaker was 14-0. It was simple. In the beginning of the match, Batista proved that he wasn't afraid by instantly spearing The Undertaker. He was all over him in the early parts of this match, threw him into the steel steps, and The Undertaker just couldn't get it together. Batista then delivered a top rope shoulder tackle. The Undertaker recovered, and he delivered several punches to Batista's abdomen, and this time, he was the aggressor. The Undertaker hit the old school on Batista, and it looked like he was about to wrap this one up with a chokeslam, but Batista pushed away the Undertaker's arm. From there, the Undertaker hit the apron leg drop on Batista, and then he dived over the top rope onto him. The two brawled for a bit in the ringside area, and this ended with Batista power slamming the Undertaker through the announce table. Batista in the ring attempted to Batista bomb the Undertaker, but he just couldn't. Instead, he hit a belly to belly. Batista then delivered some rights and lefts in the corner, but this would come back to bite him as the Undertaker delivered a last ride. Batista, however, managed to kick out. The Animal then bounced back with a spine buster, but he ran straight into a chokeslam right after that. Batista kicked out again, and after failing to hit the tombstone, the Undertaker ran into a Batista bomb. Once again, he kicked out. Batista at this point just couldn't believe it. He then went for a second Batista bomb, but the Undertaker countered. He then went for a third, but Taker bounced him off the turnbuckle, and he hit the tombstone pile driver to become the new World Heavyweight Champion. 15-0 at WrestleMania. Now, in an interview, Batista had this to say about 2 years ago, I believe, and I quote, "I was really upset that we weren't in the main event. I just felt like we should have been. We deserve to be. We set some milestones with that, and I know with the exchange of title and everything, it was just more significant of a match. And I also just felt like Taker deserved to be the main event and should have gone last, so I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder. It was John Cena, Shawn Michaels, I believe. I felt like we got robbed of that top spot, and we should have had it. And I felt like our match speaks for itself. I think we had the match of the night. And I just felt like Taker should have been the last thing that people saw that night, so I had a chip on my shoulder. And I was a little bent out of shape that we didn't. It was just a special night. It was the first time Undertaker held that particular title, and I still feel like we should have closed the show. Again, I say our match speaks for itself. I believe personally that we stole the show that night, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. That match was awesome. Like, these two proved that they could go out there and have one of the best matches of 2007. Since his comeback, I don't think Batista had any great matches bar that No Way Out tag team match. Not sure though. In this match, he kind of proved that he could carry himself in a match. He didn't need the Undertaker to carry him or anything like that. Backstage, Stephanie McMahon wished Vince good luck, and he looked like a madman. He's speaking to her baby, and he's like, he's crazy. The next match was between the New Breed and the ECW Originals. Vince McMahon had praised the New Breed back in January, and he even trashed every single one of those ECW Originals. Matt Striker in the beginning delivered a cheap shot, but that amounted to nothing as Sabu hit a few springboards. The ECW Originals had the upper hand for a bit, hitting some double team moves, and it wasn't until Marcus Corvan delivered a cheap shot to Tommy Dreamer that the New Breed gained control. The New Breed got a chance to shine, and they neutralized Dreamer during all of this. Dreamer bounced back with an inverted DDT on Corvan, and he managed to tag in Rob Van Dam. Van Dam kicked Striker's ass, and he delivered a missile dropkick to Kevin Thorne. He then monkey flipped the hell out of Striker, and he hit the Rolling Thunder. But Corvan grabbed RVD, and he clotheslined him outside the ring. Sabu then hit a somersault, and in the ring, Tommy Dreamer hit the DDT on Striker. Elijah Burke knocked him down, which led to the Sandman clotheslining himself and Burke right out of the ring. Then RVD went up to the top rope where he hit the 5-star frog splash for the victory. Now, despite the match being short, I thought it was amazing to see the ECW Originals shine at WrestleMania. I thought this was a great moment for them, even though they may think otherwise. On this matchup, Tommy Dreamer had this to say about a few months ago. At one point, my match was scratched to give more time to Melina and Ashley Massaro, and I was like, are you kidding me? And then Rob Van Dam checked out while we were going to the ring, cause there was no Rob Van Dam or Sabu shirts. And then the show was in Michigan. He was quitting the WWE as we were walking down the steps to come to the ring, and I'm like, Rob, please, we have to go, because I'm trying to wrangle all these crazy people. Well, that was a WrestleMania experience Tommy Dreamer disliked. Next up was the Battle of the Billionaires, the battle of the two biggest egos, Donald Trump and Vince McMahon. Not to overshadow the competitors, but this was mostly about those two. Bobby Lashley represented Donald Trump, and Umaga represented Vince McMahon. Rumor has it that Rey Mysterio was going to represent Donald Trump. I don't think that would have fared well, because Rey beating Umaga at the time would have been unusual. What I mean by that is that Umaga at this point beat guys like Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and in the end, it's Rey who beat him. Like, I wouldn't care because it's wrestling, but some would think that's a stupid idea. They showed many celebrities giving their 2 cents on the matchup, and that's exactly what they wanted. They wanted to be the center attention in the media. On the March 5th, 2007 episode of Raw, Stone Cold Steve Austin was revealed to be the guest referee for this one. He was the only man that was able to keep all of them in check. Vince proudly walked down the aisle, and he gave us a sign of what's to come. When Trump came out, money fell from the rafters, and he also gave us a sign of what's to come. Bobby Lashley and Umaga started this one off with rights. Like, they didn't even lock up or anything. They went straight to the fight. At one point, Lashley cornered Umaga and he unloaded, and this led to Austin pulling Lashley away. It gave us this tense moment. Armando Estrada got involved, and Lashley delivered a running power slam. As Lashley was distracted, Umaga tried to run straight into him. Instead, Lashley ducked and he pulled the rope from under him, and what a bump that was. Like, good God. Umaga recovered, and this time Lashley bumped onto the concrete floor. Umaga then performed the splash, but Lashley kicked out. From there, Austin pulled Umaga away from Lashley, who was on the ropes, and this led to another tense moment. He continued choking Lashley, and Austin had to grab Umaga by his hair to stop him. From there, Umaga was in control. He hit a Samoan drop, and he overpowered Lashley. Then Vince stood on the apron, and Lashley hit the ropes, and he went flying. Umaga continued being on the offense until Lashley slammed him off the top rope. Lashley then hit a clothesline, and Austin made this match no countout after both men struggled to get up. Shane McMahon then came out to check on his father, and in the corner, Umaga once again choked Lashley. This time, Austin pulled Umaga away from his eye, and Shane tried to lure Austin away from him. Once Austin turned around, Umaga hit the Samoan spike. Vince was elated, and Trump was just confused at all this. He didn't know what the hell was going on. Shane then delivered some of his punches to Lashley, and Vince grabbed a trash can from under the ring and he put it on Lashley. Shane O'Mac then performed the coast to coast, and he revealed that he's wearing a referee shirt. Shane dragged Lashley to the middle of the ring, and Umaga hit the splash. Then Austin pulled Shane from out the ring, and he stomped a mud hole in him. Umaga then knocked down Austin once again, and Trump was like, what the hell is this? Once again, like, he didn't get this at all. He then decided to hit the best clothesline you'll see on Vince, and he delivered some rights of his own. In the ring, Austin ducked a Samoan spike, and he hit the stunner on Umaga. Lashley then speared him to win the matchup, and Vince just realized that he's gonna lose his hair. Now, JR in commentary was gold once again. Like, the stuff he was saying was amazing. McMahon then stared at Stone Cold, who decided to throw Vince into the ring. Shane tried to prevent his father from getting a head shave, and Austin performed the Luthez press on him. Austin then stunned Shane right out of the WWE ring, and Vince, meanwhile, was slowly crawling out of the ringside area. He snuck to the ramp, and the trio noticed this. He smiled and waved goodbye. As Vince made his way to the back, Lashley sprinted right up to him and then hoisted him up on his shoulder. Lashley then threw Vince into the ring, where he was confronted by a bald man. Once he turned around, Austin hit the stunner. Lashley then loaded McMahon onto the barber's chair, and Vince begged for them not to shave his head, but they did. Vince shouted, but he couldn't do anything about this, and they even put shaving cream on his head. Vince's facial expressions were so damn goofy. Once they finished, they showed McMahon what he looks like, and he just wanted to get the hell out of there. The things McMahon would do for business, man. He was humiliated and humbled. As Austin was celebrating with Trump and Lashley, he hit the stunner on the current president of the United States. About the match, I didn't really care. It was average. I didn't hate it though. I just cared more about the story, and it was pretty entertaining. The next match was for the WWE Women's Championship. Melina defended the gold against Ashley Massaro in a Lumberjill match. All the divas came out first, and the story of this match was Melina was jealous of the attention Ashley got, because she was on the cover of Playboy, and she was all over the place in WWE. Melina was a women's champ, and she just wanted the exact same attention Ashley got. In the beginning, Ashley was all over Melina. She decided to take a breather, but the Lumberjills threw her back in. She would bounce back by bouncing Ashley off the ropes. She then choked Ashley in the corner, and then she went for the Cesaro swing. Ashley managed to make a comeback, and she hit an awkward monkey flip. Ashley failed to hit the Starstruck, and this match ended with Melina rolling Ashley up and connecting with a bridge to retain the title. Melina showed off the title, and Ashley kicked her out of the ring. Then the ring filled up with the Lumberjills, and Melina managed to escape unscathed, and it was the face divas that had the upper hand. It wasn't a good match, but I'm not just gonna go and trash it. Like, it's not December to Dismember level. And the main event, John Cena defends the WWE Championship against Shawn Michaels. Now, in my opinion, I just gotta mention this. This match might have been the right choice to main event. Why? Well, I felt like it had more momentum than Batista and The Undertaker's. That may be debatable in itself, and either of them had a case for why they should have main evented. Shawn Michaels was Cena's tag team partner, and Batista never lost the world title clean. One thing I did find weird about this match is the fact that Shawn Michaels came out to his DX entrance. I mean, he reverted back to his normal theme song the following week, but why couldn't they just have him, like, come out to his normal theme song here? Also, before I talk about this match, the original plan was Cena and Triple H too. Since he tore his quad, I believe the match became HBK and Cena. All of a sudden, they show a Ford Mustang cruising around the streets of downtown Detroit. Then the Mustang goes right through the WrestleMania glass and John Cena's entrance plate. He then came out of the car. Now, one thing to note is the fact that both men were tag team champions. They just didn't bring out the titles. In the beginning, Michaels offered Cena a handshake. He turned it down and HBK slapped him. He expected this, that's why he didn't shake his hand. He chopped Cena to send him to the corner, and the two started off with basic wrestling exchanges. Once again, HBK humbled Cena, and the two locked up. He out-wrestled Cena once again, and this would all end when Cena clotheslined the hell out of off Michaels. Cena then hit a hard shoulder tackle, but HBK lashed onto him with a Luthez press. Michaels then threw Cena to the outside and he performed a springboard moonsault on the announce table. He then chopped Cena in the ring and he began targeting the champ's knee. He delivered a clubbing blow and like a shark, Michaels smelled blood. He slammed Cena's knee into the steel post and the Heartbreak Kid continued to exploit Cena's injury. Cena at this point just couldn't get into the match. He tried to make a comeback but to no avail. At one point, Michaels bumped into the steel post and this busted him open. Cena then measured Michaels for the clothesline and he successfully hit it. He then began his comeback and he snapped his knee in place to stop the pain. He then hit the 5-knuckle shuffle and Michaels escaped Cena's FU. Right after that, HBK accidentally super kicked the referee. Cena then grabbed HBK looking for the FU, but it was countered into a DDT. Once both men recovered, Michaels decided to hit a spike piledriver on the steel steps. This led to Cena's head being busted open. After referee Jack Doan ran down the aisle, Cena kicked out. Michaels was whipped into the ropes and he rebounded with a flying forearm. HBK kicked up and he hit the flying elbow. The Heartbreak Kid decided to tune up the band, but Cena once again clotheslined HBK. Both men got up once again and they traded right hands. Cena boo, HBK yeah. Michaels walked straight into an FU, but he countered it into a roll-up. Cena kicked out and following this, he successfully hit the FU. Cena couldn't cover Michaels in time and he kicked out. HBK then attempted a crossbody, but Cena managed to put him over his shoulders and his FU attempt was thwarted. Michaels then went for the super kick and Cena avoided it once again and he attempted the STFU. He ended up locking Michaels in it several seconds later. HBK made it as the ropes and the referee had to pull Cena away. As the champ walked away from the ref, he walked straight into a sweet chin music. After several seconds, he covered Cena. Cena obviously kicked out, and after this, both men lifted each other up. Cena tried going for an FU. Michaels tried countering it and going for the sweet chin music, but Cena managed to avoid it and he locked him in the STFU. After several seconds, Michaels tapped out. I love this. Cena's knee prevented him from fighting back in the beginning, but once the pain went away, he started his comeback and he was back into the match. Now, I heard Michaels was pissed off at Cena selling the knee. Like, he refused to shake Cena's hand right after the match. Apparently, the plan was for HBK to shake Cena's hand, and due to Cena not selling the knee, he didn't do that. Now, Michaels was right to be pissed. He spent all the match trying to work the leg, only for Cena to stop selling it. On the other hand, you could describe this in storyline as Cena being Super Cena, cause how many times have we seen him take a beating only to come back and win the match? That's how I saw it. He was Super Cena once again. He snapped out of it after dropping Michaels at one moment, as you can see here. As for the result, HBK deserved to win. Cena was champ for 20 of the last 24 months. Like, why couldn't they let HBK hold the title for a while? Despite Cena selling, this is one of my favorite WrestleMania matches ever. These two would go on to have a shockingly better matchup in London a few weeks later, and it's arguably the greatest Raw matchup ever. It depends on what you think. And that's it. WrestleMania 23 was pretty good. I liked the Money in the Bank ladder match. Benoit and MVP's match was good. The Battle of the Billionaires was kind of entertaining. The main event was spectacular, and I thought it was a great way to close out WrestleMania. Like I said, either one of those matches had the right to main event. Good thing it wasn't the Battle of the Billionaires at main event. That's all I'm going to say. And that's it for this video. Make sure you hit a sweet chin music on the like button and perhaps an FU on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.